The ginger prom lights, the path with the flame. No rest for the wicked, yays deep in the game. From light, no fire to the edge of the zone. This ain't for tourists, it's blood, steel, and bone. Almost locked in, got the headlines lit. Breaking down Bungie while the dev panic quit. Mic drop moments, he's tracking the fall. Truth, it's harder than a Nerf DPS call. Pull up a chair, the moment is near. Legends will rise as the noise disappears. No PR spin, no corporate label. It's raw, it's real. At the gaming round table. Yeah, at the gaming round table. Krona's in the lab, got that old school fire. Nintendo stock rises while the rest expire. Mario money, Joy-Con king. Profits roll in while the rest just cling. We signal and noise with a brand new name. Still dropping heat from the dad life game. Diablo grinding while the babies appear. Yo, I was AFK but spiritually here. Pull up a chair, let's settle the score. Truth, it's harder than ever before. No filters, no fear, no industry fable. Just game and grit. At the gaming round table. Being great at the gaming round table. Yeah. 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 We gaming kinda's calm with the raid team tied. Final boss plans on a Tuesday night. Wild to 14, he don't chase the flame, but Paul says the charts and still tops the game. Scrag walks in with the spark in the side. $80 for this man who let that fly. Greed in the code and the grind don't lie. Micro slide moves make me uninstall inside. Pull up a chair, let's settle the score. Truth, it's harder than ever before. No filters, no fear, no industry fable. Just game and grit at the gaming round table. Yeah, at the gaming round table. Yeah. 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 Pull up a chair, let's settle the score. Truth, it's harder than ever before. No filters, no fear, no industry fable. Just game and grit at the gaming round table. Yeah, at the gaming round table. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to what Chad is calling the Gay Man Roundtable, which was cracking me up as we did our little intro.
Never in my life have I wanted AI Chad Kroger to sing me a song more than what just happened. Nickelback AI slop is here.
Yes, it is. It is for sure, man. It is a new era, and we've got a lot to cover this week alone. We got Lono back here this week. Thank you so much for coming in and with the raid. We got Scrag and Chrono, and we have some of the most interesting week of news that I've seen in a long time. It's an interesting way to start 2026 off in style, and I think Lono, you actually summarized it best in a video that you posted as a short and over on Twitter when you talked about the kind of toxic empathy that we're kind of seeing emerge as we've seen Highguard come out and really not necessarily like. I don't feel it's overwhelming. I don't think it's whelming. I think if we're going to bring up a term, it comes out, maybe it's a 7 out of 10. I don't know. I have Chrono on my team here, and thankfully he downloaded and he played because I was on watching your reaction to the announcement like on Monday, and I was like, there is nothing here that makes me go, yeah, my hard drive space is worth this. But let's toss to you first, because you bring up this concept of toxic empathy. I'd like you to kind of give a summary for anybody who has not yet seen your video about it, because I think it really plays into what we're seeing online unfold this week with Highguard.
Yeah, I ended up getting into it again the next day, and we took that highlight and it's uploaded on the channel if people want to see it. It's a bit of a rant, but essentially the idea was I didn't think toxic positivity was the right term. It didn't seem like that fully summarized what was going on. It was sort of this, let's shield the developers from hate and toxicity. And what I didn't appreciate about it was, I think every time a game comes out, regardless of the game, I mean, even something that was almost universally praised like Expedition 33, there were people that were toxic and hateful about it and said that it was no good and overrated and blah, blah, blah. And my point was,
dies out. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it dies out when the game is good. And my frustration was it felt like you're using those people as a shield to make it seem like everybody else that's being critical is just being quote unquote hateful. And I didn't think that that was an appropriate response. So the best thing to do right now is to weather this storm and learn, not just them, but the industry as a whole. Like, I don't know how you watched Concord do what it did and really looked at your game with a straight face and thought, oh no, we've got a genuine shot here. Even if they would have shadow dropped it, even if Jeff wouldn't have put it on main stage game awards, which is what they're saying. Like they did an interview with Chris String and apparently they just wanted to shadow drop this thing. They were going to kind of pull the Apex Legends playbook out, which, okay, cool. Go ahead and do that. I don't think that would have changed anything. I think describing the situation as hate, I think is inaccurate. If you look at the player numbers, it's not being received well. People aren't playing, they're quitting. If we were all nice, if we were all polite and everyone was very charitable and empathetic, the player numbers would have done the exact same thing. It is being rejected as a product. Essentially, that's what's happening. And I get it. We have a bit of a parasocial relationship with developers. We see the interviews and we like them. Maybe we've met them at events and we don't like to see their work fail or get trashed. And developers are kind of coming in and weighing in on this. But the issue is, and I kind of reacted to Sven Vinka's comments as well, because I like him from Larian. I said, the people that are being toxic are never going to listen to your lecture about how to be nice and how to give feedback in a nice way. And then the rest of us that are mature adults are like, we're already doing this. We already get it. And we feel like we're getting lumped in with haters and trolls because we are being very critical. I mean, the game's name was derivative. I don't know. I felt like the toxic positivity wasn't the right term. It felt like toxic empathy. It was like we're being so empathetic that we're trying to like almost like shut down criticism and conversation. And let's really give this game a shot. And it's like it got its shot and it seemingly didn't hit the target.
Chrono, you actually went hands-on with it because you're a legend, and you said at least one of us on this panel needs to download it. What's your takeaway from the game itself?
I posted a short summarizing my one match after the tutorial, and it's doing too many things. Their scope was too wide for this game. There's too many things happening, and I'm told it's a skill issue, and I'm old and I don't understand the game. No, I don't
That's
want.
what they say on our comments, where it's like,
yeah,
all we're waiting for is the sweet touch of death. It's like, okay,
right. So, like, I just think if they narrowed the scope down a little bit, there are positives with the game. Movement felt pretty good to me. You know, the gunplay could use some work. Taking out the number of things I need to do as a player would be nice in one match. The length of the match are way too long, unless you really like Valorant. You know, like it was a lot of things I did not enjoy. That like after the first match, I was like, all right, I'm good. I've got what I needed. This isn't for me, and that's okay. You know, if anybody's enjoying it, props to them. Like for real, I hope you get the most time out of it you can. But the masses have pretty much spoken. I mean, it's not a good first try.
Now, Scrag, you told me like you're just absolutely uninterested in this game. Like any reason why specifically?
Looks lame.
There you go.
That's it.
Okay, so like I have a very good
roll credits on the show. Let's get out of here.
We got it.
For what I like, I know what I like, and when I see it. So like for instance, Arc Raiders is not on the list of things that I like technically in terms of like visual representation of characters and graphics and such, but you know what? It's a really good game. So I played it for like 400 hours. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily like whenever I look at a game, I'm like, that looks lame or that looks good. It's not necessarily like whether I'm going to like it or not, but what it is when I take my very first impressions of something and I kind of have that gut reaction, I'm pretty tuned in to what most people are going to think when it comes to that. So like, for example, what was that game recently?
Marathon? It would be another one that I would think from an extraction shooter comparison.
Well, see, but that one's different because that one looks cool. It's just the fact that they stole everything.
Well, I think the biggest comparison it's going right now is Concord. Concord launched.
Yeah, so Concord.
When Concord was shown, everybody was like, ugh.
Yeah,
Concord
when they showed the
entry
Concord
point price. Like that's one to contrast it, yes, but Concord asked for money up front. This is a free to play game, and it couldn't even break 100,000 peak concurrent, roughly. So because I know the internet doesn't understand what concurrent means, it's like that's roughly 650 to maybe 1 million people on Steam, who downloaded it and played it, at least a match or something like that.
To be fair, though, those are pretty good numbers. Like if you think about it, like there was.
I'd kill for those numbers.
At least there was 100,000 people willing to try your game. Now, if it's garbage or good, that's up to you. That's your fault, right? As a developer, like if your game can't hold it, well, you overlooked something or mini somethings. But I was gonna say, like for example, when that trailer launched, I was like, dude, this looks like budget Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
precisely,
nobody wants to play this. That was my first response. And then I think it was the same event that showed the Armored Core trailer, and I'm screaming so loud I had to get a new microphone. Like that's just like
when they showed Concord, they then showed also the Marvel Rivals, which looked like a better version with characters that I know and would love to maybe play as. So I was like, in the same showcase, it was like, hey, you like this? Hey, do you want something better? It's like, okay, like, wait a minute, are y'all competing now? But go ahead.
But there's like a level of like things that the community wants, like gamers, and it's like here or whatnot. We'll just say it's like here, and then the developers are like, oh, they like this. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this, and they like go completely off into left field and do whatever the heck they want, which is good. I want developers to do whatever the heck they want. But it's when it looks like it's done by committee. Like, for example, Highguard. It's like, oh, people like guns, so we're going to make a shooting game because shooting games are popular. Yeah, okay. People also like swords, so we're going to throw in some swords. And you know what they also like? They like Thor. So we're going to make it like fantasy, and then we're going to do magic. And oh, you know what else people like? Horses. You know what else people like? Alterac Battlefield from World of Warcraft. We're going to do that. And then we're also going to do this. Oh, Minecraft, we need to have ore. It just like, it didn't feel like someone...
Too many systems.
There wasn't one person who's like, hey guys, I want to make this hyper-specific type of game for this hyper-specific type of player. No, they were like, hey, we're just going to pick a bunch of shit that everyone likes and loosely base it off of like hero shooters and like Overwatch. And then we're going to go and we're going to do it. And because we worked on cool stuff in the past, everyone's going to eat it up. Just gonna eat it up.
Okay, to be fair, you can see like those experiences that the developers have come through in like the movement, some of the gunplay. It felt familiar. It's just the overall delivery is just so wonky and awkward, and having with that, like I said, that one match, I was on voice chat, which I never do with games, and the other guy playing with me, it was also his first match playing, and he was like, I don't know what to do. And so it's like when you have a forced tutorial, and you still have people running around going, we don't know what to do. I mean, that kind of sums it up, right? It was just too much ambition. Maybe, I don't know.
It was not focused. That's
Well,
the
I-
problem.
Go ahead.
I want to piggyback a little bit on what Scrag was saying too, because it's like I really did not appreciate industry people getting in front of this game and almost trying to like take up for it as if it did something that's worthy of defense. Like it felt so derivative and it felt so opportunistic. It's like they formed in like 2021. So many of these games are coming out because of COVID. Like they saw the surge of numbers in live service games during COVID, and everybody suddenly decided they were going to make their version of Fortnite. And it's like, listen, y'all wanted to get the bag. I respect that. But the name of the game is derivative. The gameplay itself is derivative. It's like, and it came missing like quality of life features. It wasn't very optimized. It seems like you really wanted to push this out, and like you knew there was going to be a drought at the beginning of the year. Don't sit in front of this game and act like this is a representation of what passion, like innovative, really forward-thinking developers, like it's like, oh, they took a risk. It's like, but did they? Like what Scrag says, I kept saying it felt very corporate and calculated. This feels like something like a boardroom came up with. Like, oh yeah, look at all these things games are doing. Let's do that too. And when you name it Highguard, which is literally a synonym of Overwatch, I don't see evidence of like this passion and this innovation. It just absolutely feels like derivative live service opportunism, which, look, I get it. A lot of games are making good money, but there's also a graveyard of dead ones as well. And I don't think we owe these games anything. We don't owe them our time. We don't owe them our attention. Especially if this is what you're bringing to the table, I really feel like the industry's misfiring here. This is not the game I would stand in front of or hold up as like a paragon of innovation and risk taking.
And to juxtapose it with the live service fatigue, then you see games like Arc Raiders that really do come out and really can continue to grow and find success. And I think that's essentially something that's like very, very important. I heard this today, and I don't know if it ends up being true. So maybe you guys have, whether you've heard it or not. But one of the things that when I was watching the reveal, they're like, "Oh, we got a new mount type coming." I was like, "Oh, they added mounts so they could sell you something because it's like they have to make money." But then somebody was saying is that they originally designed it with like 8 teams of 3, like as a part of the map. So like if you look at it in terms of that might have been something where it was semi-unique in which that you have more conflict earlier on, but being that they then pivoted and just went with 2 teams of 3, you have these giant maps that you need mounts that nothing happens until he's halfway through the match. And I think it was even on your stream, Lona, that you reacted. You were like, they said in the thing, like matches might go 8 minutes or 30 minutes. And you were like, 38 minutes? What the hell? Like, who's got time for that? Like, oh man, I'm going to sit down and play a game. How quick is this? It's like with other kind of games, generally you have a good expectation. Like if I'm like, oh, I know I've got 15 minutes, maybe I can get around in at Call of Duty or Halo. And yeah, that was fun. But I was like, oh, good Lord, imagine trying to hop in and then this thing's just not going long. The people aren't playing the objectives. That's one of the things that always like annoys me is that when you get a team death match people in an objective match and you're like, we're not going to win this. Like,
sure,
nobody's going to win this one.
Well, and how trusting were they in the quality of the game to think that, like, if you've ever interacted with people who play these types of games, like PvP games, you're basically playing like you're looking for loot and resources. Then you're kind of playing a game of CTF for the sword. Then you're playing search and destroy. It's like, if you know anything about people who play these types of games, they tend to gravitate to like one mode, and you put like multiple modes in one game. That's a lot of rough edges and friction for a player to just love every second of it. So like if you hate the CTF portion of the game, you're never going to like this game. If you don't like the search and destroy portion, you're not going to like this game. Like that is just seemingly very out of touch with how these types of people play these types of games. Man, oh man, the hubris to think like, oh yeah, we put all these modes into one mode and people are going to love it. I'm like, historically, that's just not how gamers like this tend to play games.
Well, even like with the time thing, right? Like it could be 8 minutes or it could be 45 minutes. It's like, cool. Like Arc Raiders, I can go for 45 minutes too with a certain map condition, which actually I think it's only 30 now. But I can go up to 30 minutes in Arc Raiders, like cool. But also if I have to take a shit, I can tell my teammates, hey, I have to take a shit. Can we leave? And we can leave. But in a game like that where it's 3v3 and there's like no option, which this sounds like a really weird specific take, but like legitimately if in a 3v3 game, I would feel so bad if I'm like, hey guys, I have to go. Like I don't like not even to take a shit, just like I have to go, like whatever reason, like I have to go get a drink or I have to go make dinner or I have to
If anybody's seen my streams, it's like there's sometimes where it's like, all right, I got 30 minutes of game time followed by 5 minutes of having to keep stepping away every 5 minutes to handle something because a kid skinned their knee, etc. It's like, oh yeah,
but if it were like 5v5 or even like 6v6 or like they were saying 8 teams of 3, then I wouldn't feel as bad to have to go do something for a couple minutes,
right? Because you're not knocking out 33% of like the potential damage output that your team is bringing. You're like, hey, I'm going to put you at a severe disadvantage in this match. Might as well all just quit. So everybody's just, moving on from it. Yeah, I feel you on that one. That's a good point, Scrag.
I also think that, like, comparing it to stuff like Arc Raiders and, similar like extraction games, anything that costs money, there's a bit of incentive to spend time in because the game, like, you spent money on it. If you've enjoyed it even a little bit, you're going to want to keep playing it. You know, but the spend it does help like ensure that like if you enjoy like with me with the original Overwatch, I bought the game because I got the free weekend and had a blast. And I was like, I want more of this. And so when I spent money on it, I didn't mind having matches that lasted a while. I was enjoying the game, truly enjoying the game. The free to play aspect brings just a different type of player altogether. And that can be seen in the way Overwatch 1 was played compared to when Overwatch 2 came out. And you have a bunch of people that don't know how the game works, refuse to play the objective. And I think, you know, you would encounter the same thing in this game as well, long term. You'd have people just making accounts, dropping in, and just griefing or not knowing what to do and just immediately trying to push the other team's base or, you know, just wandering around the map because it wasn't really clear, you know, where I'm supposed to go right from the get-go. And I think if they had even tried to do some kind of price point besides just a free-to-play, you know, battle pass situation, you might have gotten those really dedicated players in to support the game up front. And that's just like pure speculation. Like, I'm not saying that that's guaranteed how it works, but I feel like it would have brought like a more dedicated player base than the Steam review bombs that we got right now.
Well, or just nobody would have played it, like Concord.
That's also true.
Yeah, like you put that barrier for entry, you better have something worth it at the other end of it, right? Like, it's just, oh gosh, I would be so frustrated if like, cause with Concord, like, and then all of us, and then they rug pull you, and then it's like, and
right.
I think Sony did the right thing. They refunded, right? Like they were like, hey, this ain't our best. Okay,
right.
Fair. Like that was a real class act move. This is a free to play game. I don't think they have to refund anything. They'd be like, well, you know, you got it. What's y'all's overall and under, because we got a lot more to talk about that happened this week. What's the odds that this game survives? So let's go to Scrag. Like, do you think, because anything's possible. We've seen, you know, crazy things happen in gaming, but in terms of this game specifically from a new studio, what do you put it at?
Given the amount of supposed budget they put into this, from what it looks like, and the caliber of the developers that are involved, and the current player count of under 7,000, low, very low. I would be surprised if it lasted till the end of the year.
What about you, Lona?
Yeah, I think the dilemma with any game like this is always you have to have minimum player engagement numbers, because if not, it just doesn't function as a game. Like, even let's just say they can weather the storm financially, it doesn't matter, right? Because you got people that are trying to play, and without enough players, you're going to get region mismatch, which leads to lag, or you just sit in a queue and can't play, which just drives people away. It usually the issues compound on themselves. The more you lose players, the more you lose players, which is why you see player numbers in games like this tend to drop over time, and then they start to get to those low levels, and then they can do a new season or new content and kind of rejuvenate. I think the issue with this game is they dropped so fast because people were like, oh, but it's not Concord 2.0. And I gave the analogy. I was like, well, if you're trying to say which pilot of a plane is better, and one of them crashed on the runway and the other flew 1 mile, they both crashed a plane. Like, yeah, this game seemingly is going to go for a little bit longer than Concord, but it still is like it's just going to crash and burn and just not go anywhere, which is obviously terrible. Like, you've got people that really, for whatever reason, I mean, they thought they had something here, and you hate to see the failure. I definitely have compassion for people when they try something and fail. It's like, that's a bummer, but that's kind of the way this industry goes, especially for live service games. They are the most risky game to try to launch, I think.
I think failure can also be healthy. Like, if we let it like happen, if you go and do a retro and say, hey, what went right? What went wrong? How can we get better and improve? If I think there, especially with everything we saw over the last couple of years with like low interest rates, et cetera, became a point where it's like, yeah, you could kind of work your way out of it, but financially is such an interesting question, because there is no at the door cost. Somebody can just jump in, play your game, play for a round, leave a negative review and dip. I think, to your point, Lono, one of the things that also compounds on that is that with the player drops and players not being able to find it, that drives articles from all the various different sites that I would say are gaslighting people up right now. They're like, well, the game's great after 7 hours and yada, yada, yada. It's like, yeah, you can go back in time and look at any of this guy's articles. And he said the same thing about, like insert live service game, Justice League, kill the Justice League. For example, it's like, there's a history and an archive of all these things where like, I don't believe you. That's actually was my key point. I was like, there wasn't anything that invited me in specifically, but all of the articles that I saw that came out are from sources that I was like, I've lost full-on institutional trust in anything you have to say. I'm going to go check out somebody's stream, and in 5 minutes, I'm going to know if it's going to be worth my time. I watched your reaction. I had the same vibe that you were getting right from it. I saw the same thing happen in your chat where people started to be like, it's going to be great. And I was like, you just learned this game. Like, how are you? Like, there's no nostalgia. It's not like they're like, we're going to make the most, the thing that you grew up loving and you have such connection to. It's the next Legend of Zelda, and it's gonna. It's like, okay, I can get people pre-defending a game that might not be received well because of nostalgia, but we don't have nostalgia. We haven't been grown. We didn't grow up playing Highguard, 1 through 10, and then all of a sudden it's like, yes, finally they're making this version that I've always dreamed of.
Some of that could have just been hype for something different, and that's kind of what they presented. Hey, it's familiar, but it is different. But different doesn't always mean good.
Well, so it's easy to get hyped over like a cool trailer. Like that trailer, like even though it was beat for beat, like everything we've seen before from other games, it still kind of looked neat. But when you watch people play the game and they're like, all right, guys, we got the next 5 minutes to build the wall. And then we got the next 5 minutes after that to mine. And then we got the next 5 minutes to do the thing, and then another 5 minutes to do this, and then we finally get to shoot people for like 3 minutes, and then the game's over. Yeah, that's like.
Oh, you forgot about
that in the trailer.
Planting that bomb.
Yeah.
Chrono, what are your odds? What are the odds that they decide to keep rolling this out?
I would say fairly low. Kind of with Scrag, if it makes it to the end of the year, I might be surprised. I think they're going to have some very serious discussions depending on how people engage with the free battle pass, because they promised battle passes don't expire. And I think that's a great move in any live service game these days, because I don't have time to finish one. And so, I appreciate that. But I think they're going to look at how engaged people are with that specific thing, because that's going to be their moneymaker. And if nobody's doing the free one, then definitely nobody's buying it.
Well, see, there's another thing we have to think about though. Like, companies make live service games to be the next Fortnite, the next Marvel Rivals, the next whatever, right? If you make a live service game and you have 10,000 people playing it, and that's a maximum of 10,000 people you can sell a $20 skin to, or a $20 battle pass to every month, that's how much a month? Let's say you get 25% of those people, 2,500 times $20. That's what one person's salary for a couple of years. That's not worth it.
Yeah, agreed. I got a couple of people to thank, because I do want to talk about the $440 billion that Microsoft needed off their books with that. But I want to say thank you so much to Detective Seeds and Stone Spire for gifting out memberships to the channel. I'm gonna take a page out of Lona's book. If you guys are interested, we actually have a $1 tier that will take you out of the running of getting a gifted sub. So if that's the case and you want to do that, thank you so much for that. But also, Jack writes with the $5 super chat, this game has something for everyone to hate. And it did unite that. I do think, and before we kind of talk about Microsoft in this case, I do think that there is an argument to be made about how the Game Awards came out, there was pushback, and they went completely silent. And
they weren't ready.
They allowed that narrative to be formed already online, algorithmically. Like, at the end of the day, algorithmically, things are going to perform one way or the other. And essentially, the algorithm was kind of already tuned to kind of feeding negative and thoughts about that, and they didn't do anything about it. And so then they came out with this, and everybody was kind of predisposed, and it wasn't a 10 out of 10. Because if it was a 10 out of 10, it's like, this game really brings a whole new life to what it means to be a first-person shooter, and they did everything and it all just works, then they would be fine. And so it kind of makes me think that they were just in this echo chamber of people aren't testing it, people aren't giving kind of feedback. Everybody's just kind of having that positive talk, that toxic positivity that people talk about, because it literally is just like, oh yeah, everything you're doing is great, and we're not going to dare even say that maybe this isn't working or that isn't working, and we go from there. And go ahead.
And some people criticizing Jeff Keighley for like pushing for it to be shown. I don't think he did it with the intention of trashing. I think he was legit excited for what he saw, and
I appreciate
wanted to share that. And that's a cool gesture. But I think that game, it just wasn't the right time. The end of the Game Awards should have been a massive AAA reveal of something, hardware reveal, a new sequel, something to get us excited that we already kind of knew was coming.
And that maybe wasn't given away for free to like lower the value of that last spot. I have to say, like, if I was spending $1 million to promote my game, and then Highguard gets a free little, little bump at the end of the show, it's like, I do wonder if that's going to hurt, his marketing ability in the future. Be like, can I get that Highguard? Like that.
Well,
can I get the Highguard deal?
I don't know how Lano feels, but I know the three of us have definite feelings about the Game Awards in its current state. So
all I'm saying is that if it was Adam Sessler, he would have not have put Highguard at the last spot. He would have been like, this game sucks. I give it a 3 out of 10 on G4. Just kidding.
Lundy, do you want to weigh in on the Game Awards topic before we talk about Microsoft?
Yeah, I've said that I don't think it's a mark against a man's character to be excited about a game and to give people that he believed in and he likes these guys. He gave him a big shot. And I actually think that speaks to his character. Like, I thought it was good that, Detective Seats is in chat. He asked him publicly, did you back this game at all? I thought that was a totally fair question. And Jeff was like, no. I think being excited about a game and promoting a game, it makes me say, you know what? He just got this one completely wrong. And that's not necessarily, in my book, that's not a mark against a man's character. It's like, yeah, we all get things wrong, right? So I know people have their opinions about him and the Game Awards. I think a lot of it gets overstated. I think a lot of people, like the one year, I felt like every year he was getting criticism because he wouldn't speak on whatever the current thing activism was. Like, I get really kind of tired of that. I mean, people are very scathing. Somebody said he didn't have a moral compass because, like, the one year he didn't grandstand about layoffs. I'm like, that's not what this event, you can't do that, right? So I feel like a lot of the criticism he gets is somewhat undue. Nobody's like free from criticism, but I feel like a lot of it's undue. And in this scenario, I said, listen, I still like him. I still like his events. I think he swung and missed here. I don't think it's a mark against his character, especially now that we know he didn't have any backing. He gave these guys a really, really primo spot. Now, the theory that if he wouldn't have done it and the game would have had a better shot, shadow dropping or what have you, Co-Carnage is saying they should have dropped it in a beta. I don't know of any other way putting this cake together if it doesn't come out the way that it came out. I just don't know. It just doesn't seem like this thing would have ever gotten legs in the market. It's too much not good about it for it to get to that place, but that's just how I see it.
And there's too much great things also going on. You and I've talked about this multiple times, Lono, is that yes, there's games that just are a complete miss, but we've also had such really good games. I think 2025 alone, from my backlog and the games that I've been playing, I was like, goodness gracious, if you just focus in on where you're having fun, it's like gaming in my mind has been actually in a really good spot. With obviously we are seeing numbers shift and there is especially for Microsoft a contraction in terms of their revenue, and that's the big news that was really kind of released just the other day. Year over year spending in terms of services, obviously the number that didn't surprise me, hardware. Anybody got to take on the negative 35%? Why they don't give you it is a completely optional product. And if it's an option, there's no necessarily incentive to spend on it. But were there any numbers that stood out to you? And I know, Scrag, you've been really hard on Microslop, and that's one of the reasons why I included that line in the in the song for the intro. But anything, any big takeaways from that? And I'll go to Scrag first.
Not really. I kind of already knew what was going on just from what the moves that they're making. So, like, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, people are moving away from Windows even. Like, do you know how hard it is to get a normie to want to install Linux on a computer, it is near impossible. But they are making it so untenable. Right now, I can't even click on apps on my computer right now because of the new update. And I'm going to have to restart my computer after the podcast. And I'm Googling right now how to get Windows Explorer to restart with only hotkeys, because it doesn't work and it pisses me off. And I know why it doesn't work, and I know why it pisses me off, because I have to use it because I have apps I can only use on Windows. And Halo sucks now, and Gears of War is gone. I'm just kidding. I'm just ranting, but yeah.
What do you think, Lono? What's your read on that news yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, the thing to point out too on hardware is it's down year over year, which means it's down from when it was previously down. So I mean, this is basically just a huge slope, which many of us saw coming. To me, the even other alarming thing was content and services being down. So it's like, okay, in the time frame of like a Call of Duty coming to the market, you're not even getting people to sign up for Game Pass and seeing the number go up into the green. Like that to me is like, is Microsoft going to walk in the room and say, what are we doing here? Like, you can't even get content and services to go up. I mean, they even said in the personal compute division, they cited the loss, they blamed it on gaming. That's a worrisome thing. If you're at an Xbox studio, I mean, the hardware situation to me, when you look at how fluctuation is happening right now with pricing, I could see Microsoft saying Magnus is a waste of time. I mean, I'm not alone in this. Game Industry Biz put out an article saying, what reason at this point could Microsoft do hardware, especially when it's going to get more expensive to do it? I mean, there's a lot. It's almost like they're getting hit from every side here. And my concern has always been Microsoft's view of gaming. They're a utilitarian company. They don't make creative effort. I don't think they're good for a creative process. I don't think they're good at gaming. I'm talking about Microsoft. And they own a lot of cool studios and a lot of cool property. And the way they treat the games and the property and the studios, I don't think is good. And in light of the recent report, it's not a good future for a lot of these studios projects, as well as anybody thinking that, you know, hardware is going to get a lot of attention from these guys. I think Satya and Amy Hood are going to say, and I don't know if you saw this either, but like there was an interview with Sarah Bond, and she basically confirmed the 30% margin. Remember when that was circulating? And then somebody claimed it was debunked, but we never got a quote. We never knew who, quote unquote, debunked it. And then she was asked directly about it and like completely sidestepped the question. I mean, even Windows Central pointed out that she sidestepped the question.
Yep.
Man, oh man, I don't know. It ain't looking good from where I sit on all fronts.
It's interesting you bring up the 30% because it's something that's been bouncing around my head like since we kind of learned it, and it feels cruel. You know, like at the end of the day, like it's, hey, I worked this job once, and it was like every year we'd get together in January and set goals for the year, you know, and they'd like, hey, if we hit this target, we're going to have a bonus payout. And we would hit that target like in September or something like that. And then they'd move the goalposts. Oh, and it was just like, and then it got to the point where after a couple of years, I was like, there's no bonus. There's this, why? Can we, you know what would be a bonus? Maybe not having this meeting in January where I could actually just go do the thing that I need to do anyway, because you're wasting my freaking time. And 30% is like, it's nice. I would love to make 30% on my investments. So like, who wouldn't? But it seems so astronomical that it's unattainable, and thus is going to be demoralizing to speak. And one of the things, also another thing in terms of gaming that I thought was very useful for a while, game companies, and they maybe still do this, they would tie bonuses and payouts based off of Metacritic scores. So it's like if you hit an average Metacritic of this and that, you have this. And I think that actually hurt creativity, and you know, because all of a sudden it's like, well, I can't take this risk because that could affect, you know, this bonus payout. And I know one of the things Yoshi P did specifically with Final Fantasy 14 on Shadowbringers, he's like, hey, let's remove that. Let's just not worry about what and it ended up being the highest Metacritic score game of any MMO expansion that has ever come out. It's like decoupling these things allows the creative ideas to breathe and really people to feel like they can actually, you know, say, hey, this sucks, let's not do this, without like all of a sudden you're being offended. And I think that's goes back to the Highguard thing. It goes back into the industry. It's like if you have this mindset of kind of the circle the wagons and protectionist, like you don't end up having a better product, which only is that kind of that shame spiral that's just going to spin and spin, and people are going to just get, you know, frustrated and eventually leave. And it is to the point where I do wonder how much of the logic is within the leadership of saying, yeah, we don't want to straight up just like stop, but we could get everybody to quit, right? And then we don't have to pay them severance. And the way we do that is we make their jobs suck, and then when they do leave, we don't fill it up. So we didn't have to announce layoffs. Like there's all these like little tricks and doodads and bombs. And I think essentially when it comes to like Microsoft, it's like the things that they are doing, like with Play Anywhere, I like it as a gamer. However, I think every year now for the last like 5 or 6 years, I'm like, man, it'd be great if they could do a Banjo-Kazooie. They have this IP that I really would love to see them do something with, but it just feels like it's constantly out of reach. Bruno, what's your read on Microsoft this week? It feels almost poetic. It's like, what?
The AI bubble is a problem, and that's what drove this big drop. Jez Gordon did a nice little write-up on that, and I read through that this morning, and I agree that a lot of it is AI driven, but the Xbox tanking side of things, it's just not surprising, considering that, you know, there's a ridiculous amount of expectations that, yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't have, Microsoft should not expect Xbox to perform well. It's a major brand. You know, they seemingly think that means keep destroying goodwill with the, you know, the existing customer base and existing fans for some reason. But at this stage, you know, when they're releasing their pillar franchises this year, as all in the same year, and you notice they're not continuing the Halo story. They're remaking Halo 1. So, you know, the ship ain't right. If you just look at all of the releases and things they've got coming this year, it don't look good. And I'm not saying Xbox is going to go under, but it very well could shrink a whole lot. They're going to pull an EA before too long and start shuttering a lot of those studios they bought. The smaller studios are going to be the first to go. With major losses like this, those smaller studios that they run are in trouble, as far as I can tell.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how big their pivot to the increase in Game Pass price is going to, I think, further lower the value.
Well, that's where, you know, we just got the report not long ago that Xbox gamers are like the most engaged of like all the player bases, right? Like you know, if you play only on Xbox, you're playing more of the games that are multi-platform than the PlayStation players are. And that's cool. But I think a lot of that engagement dropping is because Game Pass went up and a bunch of people unsubscribed or lowered their tier and don't have access to those day one releases. You know, Call of Duty's terrible performance wasn't just that this year's Call of Duty was trash. It was that you had people leaving Game Pass that weren't playing it day one that they saw last year with Black Ops 6. Mm-hmm. That was a huge problem for them. You know, they didn't like that people weren't buying Call of Duty, and the increase in Game Pass was supposed to help offset that. And instead they just drove everyone away. You know, it's like
they drove me away. If I wasn't grandfathered in until next fall, like, and this is actually where I was like, this is gonna be the true test of Fable. We last week's show we talked Fable, the impressions and kind of some of the concerns that we have performance wise. I know Lono, you were talking heavily today about Crimson Desert's performance and how they marketed that on PlayStation. I mean, it's such a great topic, guys. If you no, it's coming out in March. The positive side is it's gone gold, so it means that they can spend this time really trying to hopefully beef up that polishing. But marketing wise, like Lona brought up a really good point, imagine them, you know, advertising a Switch 2 game but showing PC gameplay, and you're like, wait a minute, you bamboozled me.
They do that all the time at PlayStation, though. They did the same thing with Spider-Man 1. Do you guys remember Puddlegate?
Well, Final Fantasy 16 as well. It was like when it was announced, it was like PC gameplay, and then essentially it shifted to just a PS5. So I was like, some deals were written in real time for that game. But
I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the PS3 and the PS4 days, that used to happen all the time, and people got really mad because they would go to like CES or whatever. Not CES. What was the one that shut down? E3.
E3.
Yeah. And there would be like a booth, and it would be showing like Donkey Kong 9000 or whatever it was, and then people would look in the cabinet and it's a big old gaming PC, and they're like, "Hey, that's not a PlayStation.
Right.
What's going on?"
Oh yeah, we had to bring our dev kits. And it's fair. To some of that, it's fair. Like, a demo build is hard to build and optimize for a console. But don't sell me on a trailer that shows gameplay that doesn't match up with what I'm going to experience. Because it's not like I'm not going to notice.
Well, I think especially now with the age of social media and the fact that we're all content creators and people are going to jump in and hyper analyze, that it brings up a lot of these things much clearer. Where originally when you would have E3 and it was like, yeah, then you kind of be quiet, you might see an article or two in a magazine, etc. So it gave them the ability to be like, yeah, we did that back at E3, but so it's like we've seen a whole shift, and I think gamers have become like more keenly aware. Like it's easier to get information out to people and be able to find the information if they're actively interested in it. And it also is that we have so much other stuff going on that it's like at the end of the day, okay, the thing, it's like a game comes out that is not fun. It's easier for me to be like, okay, I'm going to just go play something that I am having fun with, because I have such a a whole array of things that are playable now, and it's like that in and of itself is like, they're kind of competing with themselves. Like we've seen this increase in volume. We've seen this increase in price. We've seen a decrease in player time. I don't know if you guys have felt that, but it's like my available time to actually like consume a game. Lono, you've done 5 games? You've completed 5 games this year so far?
Yes, and that's concerted effort of like taking time out of the workday. So like, because I feel like if I'm going to be doing this full time, I should be playing through the games. But that is very, very segmented, and I've even told people I don't know if I'm looking for a live service game anymore. Like I don't need that. I don't want that. And I've even said with the average age of gamers, being 28 to 50 something, I think a lot of us are entering that stage of life where it's like I can't play a game for 16 hours a day. Back in the day when folks are playing EverQuest and World of Warcraft, sort of becoming like almost like a part-time job. Those of us that play Destiny like crazy, I think people are moving on from that, and maybe it'll come back around. But I remember when New World exploded, I really said you could see a rise in the casual man's MMO or like the casual man's online game. And I think they really missed that audience with that game. And I don't know if you could ever really do it, though. I think that's the challenge, is that type of gamer could drift very easily. Maybe they're not going to spend a ton of money because they are more casual. So I think that is the challenge with live services. You kind of need those guys in there. I've even said, I think a lot of the people playing Arc Raiders are playing it very casual, very like PvE loot focused, and they're not in there sweating. They're not in there shooting and fighting in PvP. I think that's leading to their success. I think that aggression-based matchmaking was a 900 IQ play that just kind of floated under the radar. And I started telling people I was sensing that it was happening. A lot of people felt like, I feel like there's something in the game that's doing that, that's letting people play peaceful and get peaceful lobbies. I do think that might be an insight into how you can have games successful now, that in a market where it does feel like maybe people can't play like they used to. Because if they only have limited time, that's the other kicker there, is like if you've only got a couple of hours, you're a busy dad or whatever, Arc Raiders is set up perfectly for you. You can come in and play for a little bit and not have to worry about having a bad time or experience. And then you pack it up and go to bed. And if you can't give people that experience, that's another thing, I think, a challenge with the ongoing game format, is that a lot of us don't have that time anymore.
Have you heard the argument, especially against live services, that the things that made it unique are all being handled by social media, where you would go to your World of Warcraft or EverQuest or whatever your MMO was. It also was this giant chat room where you didn't have that ability. But now if you want to go and talk to random strangers, you can just go make a post and roll the dice to see if people like it or don't. So it's that it is easier. And I made this kind of thing. It's like right now, sometimes if I'm just kind of tired at the end of the day, like it's easier to pull up Twitter or YouTube and kind of jump into what people are talking about than it is to boot up a game, log in, make sure it's all up to date. And by the time all of these other things are in play, things come up with real life that, more or less that it's like I feel disincentivized to go and try to put that kind of time into it, to where it's like, yeah, if it isn't a game that I've like love, like Final Fantasy, like, chances are probably going to just skip. But in terms of social media, do you see that having any kind of competitive edge of kind of, for the casuals, right? Like the people who are just like, I was just here because it was a chat room and I had a sword. Now I have, now it is still up. Twitter, I would say, is PvP, but it can be. What do you think?
I don't know if I ever considered that. I'm trying to think through what that would be like. Like I know for some people it became their third space, right? Like there's sort of there could be a resurgence of the third space for, those of like religious persuasion, right? Like that you're not just doing, family and work or school and family. That third space for many people was, church. And so a lot of people aren't in that third space anymore. So maybe gaming was that, and maybe now social media is becoming that third space for them. That certainly could play a role. I in the loneliness epidemic as well, could see a rise in a particular type of game or a particular type of social outlet that people are wanting. But I also just think it's seasons of life. I really do feel like a lot of the guys that cut their teeth on these live service games, EverQuest, RuneScape, and World of Warcraft, I think a lot of them are in a season of life where it just doesn't fit anymore. It just doesn't. It's just really, really hard to give a game that amount of time.
It's a good point about third spaces. Speaking of a random pivot, let's talk Nintendo Direct. That's kind of like the third kind of thing I wanted to get everybody's thoughts in. As me as a Nintendo fan, really kind of hopeful. I have nothing else. Like I said, that I was like, I know I'm getting a Mario movie this year, but I know my Switch 2 doesn't actually play movies. So like, are they going to give me something as well on?
Let me burst your bubble before you get too hyped. It's going to be a partner direct. That's what the rumors are all saying.
I'm fine with partner directs. But
I think it'll be good to see the third party offerings that Nintendo is willing to like put forward. I'm interested in that side of it because we always can count on Nintendo and their evergreen franchises. We know we're going to get a Zelda at some point. We know we're going to get a Mario. What else should I play on the Switch that maybe I don't necessarily want to pick up on an Xbox or a PC? It's not very many, but like what unique offerings is the Switch 2 going to have, given the Joy-Cons and the mouse mode and all of the things the Switch 2 does? What's going to bring me there? So that's why I'm excited for the partner showcase. But I didn't want you to be like excited for first party stuff because it's not likely.
No. Yeah, and thankfully it's like I was aware it was a partner showcase, but I'm thinking overall for the year, it's like hopefully this is a big
that big first direct is going to be good.
It might be, right? Because the other issue is this just a showcase of third-party ports of games that already exist on other platforms, and now you're getting a less performing version of that for those of you who haven't bought the game already. Like that's the concern that when it comes to third-party ports on Switch, where it's like, it's 8 years, you finally got Call of Duty, cool, or it's a less version of FIFA. Like, all right, like what am I gonna do here?
I feel like there's a distinct chance that there could be a Switch 2 14 port announced at that, maybe.
You think tomorrow, this next week, Switch 2 Final Fantasy?
Maybe.
14? Dude,
but
the wailing and gnashing of teeth of some players in that community is going to be funny.
Well, if it does happen, market manipulation time, we're going to commit arbitrage. Everybody go to your market boards, every single server, buy every single item that is 1 gil. And then when the Switch 2 players get the game, we're going to put them back on the market for 500 gil a piece. It's flawless. It's going to work. Just make sure that anything that is convenient on the marketplace to get for cheap is not convenient, okay? They're going to be poor, but they're going to need stuff, and they're going to have quest money. So we need to take that from them.
This guy's a gangster in that game, apparently.
Gotta make that gil. Lona, like, do you have any expectations for next week's Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase?
I have a really hard time getting excited for Nintendo Partner Showcase because of the Switch 2, unless it's your main console, which I think for a lot of people it isn't, right? Yeah. So for a lot of us, it's additive. It's Mario, like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. My wife and I love that on the Wii, so we replayed them. Not the best ports, but we had a good time with them. There were some sticky issues there that didn't work all that well. So I'm kind of sitting here waiting for that next mainline Mario, next mainline Zelda. Zelda's got a big anniversary this year.
Mhm.
So it's hard for me to get excited about a third party, or a partner direct, because, and it's going to be a lot of games that I've either already played or, that I'm not interested in that have already been in the market. I really think the question mark for Nintendo is, to me, I keep coming back to Dust Bloods. Like, we saw the footage of Elden Ring running, I think, very poorly on Switch 2, which shouldn't surprise anybody. FromSoft's not really known for their engine being amazing in the frame rate department. We saw that at launch with Elden Ring. And then you're going to the Switch 2. And I'm like, I'm assuming Dust Bloods is in their engine that they use. And I just don't know. I feel like a lot of FromSoft fans are going to be like, oh, I got to play the latest game. And I just don't know if performance is going to be where they want it or expect it, because it's just not the kind of device the Switch 2 is. So that's, to me, is one of the weirdest matches I think I've ever seen from two brands, like a FromSoft game it's like PvPvE as well, which Nintendo homies aren't really all about, like the online thing. It's never really been the draw there. So I don't know. That game is a question mark for me. And I don't know if that'll be there, if that's considered a partner, given it's an exclusivity deal.
What about you, Chrono?
I'm kind of off the rails of my expectation, but I kind of want to see what Call of Duty that Microsoft is supposed to bring, and this might be the time to do it with how Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was trash. So my hope is that they just do Call of Duty Mobile but on Switch, because that would be so easy to pick up and play, and it's free to play multiplayer Call of Duty. Like, I think that would be a huge draw for the Switch 2, and it already runs on mobile, so there's no reason it wouldn't run well on the Switch 2. I also am kind of interested to see if there are any big free-to-play titles coming from, like, Hoyoverse, like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. Any of those gacha games would have a home on Switch 2, because that's an Nintendo fans probably, if you're Nintendo only, you haven't had access to any of that. Whereas now the Switch 2 could totally run those games.
They originally said that Genshin was coming to the Switch 1. And that is never, like,
And then now they're dropping PS4 support. So it's going to be interesting. I feel like that would be a good audience for them to tap into if they, have a priority to. Just with the Switch 2 sales already doing really well right out of the gate, it would be weird that they don't put, anything on there.
Do you guys take any value in the rumors of, like, I've seen people say Expedition 33 might show up on Switch 2, and I think that could be an interesting title, especially because it's like, maybe visually it takes a downgrade, but all in all, like, if the game plays tight, you're good. I've even seen people say Final Fantasy 16 and some of these other performing things. Lona's making an expression, so I got to go to him. Go to him first, man.
Final Fantasy 16 doesn't even run great on the PS5 Pro. Like, I don't know what they did with their performance mode, but, like, it was tolerable on the Pro. The decision they made to, like, have it be 60 FPS in combat, and then when you leave combat, I mean, it's all over the place. There's one town in particular that's just terrible. I don't know. That game is kind of wild.
Look, it ran on the Series S, and I mean, having played it on the Series S, it is playable. I moved to my Series X and then just realized, oh yeah, it's Play Anywhere. So now I've been just kind of playing on my PC, because my gosh, the Series S, like, it was like watching everything through an oil smear.
Yeah, that's one when I was pretty critical. I didn't like the marketing and talking about how they were really going to show off the power of the PlayStation 5. I was pretty irritated. I was
show off how much of your power bill it can eat up. Yeah, sure.
Well, that, and it was like, I've played a bunch of games on my PS5. This is pre-pro, and all the performance modes were great, and that one was terrible. And so I don't know. Bringing that one to the Switch 2 that's a wild one. Expedition 33, I could see them toning that one down. I believe that's Unreal. They could tone that one down in the turn-based stuff. I would worry a little bit about frame rate and response time for some of the parries and stuff, because some of the fights are kind of wild. And if you have any performance issues there, or stutters or frame hitches, that's going to affect frame pacing. And when you try to have to do a parry, that could be irritating, because there are some pretty tough fights. So I think people see the Switch 2, and this is unfortunate for the people that main their Switch 2 as their console. I think a lot of these publishers and studios see the Switch 2 as just an easy cash grab, which that's unfortunate for the people that are going to get a lot of these ports. I don't know if a lot of these ports are going to be great. I just think they're like, oh, it's such a big platform. Well, it's printing money because you can port way more inexpensively than building a whole new game. And then Switch 2 is a huge platform.
Do you think it'll be on the level of like The Witcher 3, where it runs pretty rough on Switch 1, but it was widely like well received, but mostly I think just the fact that they got it working at all.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like, oh, they got this working on this terrible piece of hardware. That's amazing. I'm gonna buy it. Take my money.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it did run okay. I mean, it didn't run. It wasn't. It was bad. It wasn't terrible. It was bad.
Well said. Well summarized in that regards. I think essentially, as we kind of wind down the show and get to what we're kind of playing this week, Scrag, you brought up an interesting point that if they didn't announce Final Fantasy, the question I would have in my mind is, would they go with the mobile version or would they go with the one you have to pay a subscription?
You got to pay a subscription like the rest of us.
Like
Only the Chinese people get to pay for free.
Do the mobile version.
I was just saying, like, it's like the thing that could be interesting would be like, oh, cool.
No,
we have a couple of Switch dudes.
No.
Let me get my
They
kids
asked
playing.
you asked for this on Switch before there was a mobile version. They have to get the subscription version and pay like the rest of us.
I think
can't get behind a
think about
subscription.
Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. You could play it on the Switch 1. Like that
Yes,
was the mobile
exactly.
game. So I would say if they do 14, they'd have to do the mobile version.
I just think if you're going to try to then ask people who have a Switch 2 to pay us additional subscription,
Yes.
Nope.
I don't see it. I just can't see anybody going like
That
finally.
subscription is keeping me from playing the game. I need you to know. Like being
Exactly.
a new player.
It's doing what it's supposed to do. You got to have skin in the game to get in my raid party. All right? Okay. I didn't
man.
spend $3,000 on this game over the last 10 years for you to come in and be like, I don't know what a stack marker is. Because I didn't pay $15 and I don't care.
Oh man, but so for the context, everybody's kind of curious. People are in the community are hoping that they drop PS4 support. Yoshi P at some point in the past said only really when it makes sense, meaning if they've got a good install base. But if they went in and added in Switch 2 to the support lineup, and then
you got
they're
Sony
either locking in PS4 or they're gonna piss off. They're hoping that the PS4 community shifts over.
No.
to the
You've
Switch
got
2. I don't
Sony
know what's up.
messaging PS5 or PS4 owners now. That's like, hey, have you tried the PS5? Have you heard of our new thing? Like that's already going around. So
I find that less egregious than Microsoft throwing ads on my Xbox
agree.
full screen in my
agree,
face.
But if I see
Like-
something in my inbox on PlayStation, I'm like, who the heck messaged me? And then for it to be an ad that's like, hey, you wanna buy the new thing?
All right, let's go around the table. Let's get everybody back to their what do they got going on the rest of the day. What are you playing this week? We'll start with Scrag.
Well, I'm going to finish Portal 2, and at that point, I'll be done with all of the first-party Valve single-player games again. Well, actually, that's not true, because I didn't beat Half-Life 1 originally, not all the way, and I never beat Portal 2. So, yeah, once I'm done with that, I'll be done with all the first-party stuff. Then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to play Entropy 02, where you play as the Combine soldier, and if I find any other popular mods that I haven't done that have like a modern version, I'll play that. Other than that, I've been checking out that Arc Knights gacha game. I don't plan on playing it full, like a full playthrough or anything. I just wanted to check it out. It looks amazing for like what it is. It runs on like a 2019 version of Unity they like rebuilt from the ground up, and it looks pretty good. It runs really well for what it is, and I was pretty impressed. But yeah, I think maybe some Deadlock, new character. I might try that out.
I hear that game's actually on the release of Highguard. Deadlock was getting a boost.
On Arrival.
And I did check out Code Vein 2 this week. Don't buy that game. So yeah, that's what I got.
Lona, what you playing this week?
Yeah, Code Vein didn't review all that well.
No.
But the climbing game, that Cairn game, it's getting very good scores. So I'm interested to check that one out. I'm working on a game called Crypt Custodian, which is wonderful. It's like a top-down Metroidvania. It's very good. It had a great score. It had been in my backlog for a while, so I'm kind of working through the backlog. I am not a Neo guy, so I tried the Neo 3 demo, and I could just kind of tell, like, I'm not going to hang with this game. I'm too old and too slow to play these games anymore, and it's definitely of a vibe and speed. I'm like, yeah, I can't hang. So I'm working on Crypt Custodian. I don't know if I'll check out the Cairn game or not, given its scores. I like to check out like the smaller titles, the indie titles. Like I checked out Mio Memories in Orbit. That's a Metroidvania that's not scoring all that well on Steam. I think the criticisms on Steam are very valid. I made my own criticisms about some of the stuff they did as a Metroidvania, so it's hard for me to recommend that one without a lot of caveats. But as of now, if you're looking for a good little game and you like the art style and the vibe of Crypt Custodian, I'm really enjoying it. So that's and I'm playing Core Keeper with my wife. That's a solid little content loop. That's a fun little game. I think they added it to PS Plus. I don't know if it's on Game Pass or not, but that's a solid little game. That one's been fun for us.
Chrono, how about you, man?
I finished Metroid Prime 4. The ending made me upset, but I get it. I get why the criticisms exist. It was a fun game, 8 out of 10. Very mid, especially for Metroid. It's weird to say, but this week tonight actually I'm doing my first ever like randomized run of any game. I'm gonna be playing Kingdom Hearts 2, doing a randomizer for it with that. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Archipelago, and basically it's a bunch of people all playing different games, but we're all connected to a server, and like other players are unlocking items for me and I'm unlocking things for them, and it's insane. I'm gonna try that out and see how that goes. That's the thing I'm looking the most forward to. As far as next week, I have no idea what I'm playing yet.
Very cool, very cool. The me just continuing in my No Rest for the Wicked like IV. I've just been really loving the latest update, and I'm trying to finish Dragon Quest 2 as I'm getting closer and closer on that journey. And just like, oh gosh, I just love those games. I'm trying to finish it before Dragon Quest 7 comes out in February, which is coming up. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. We've been playing a little Mario in the house. Maddie, like you brought up Portal, Scrag. My oldest was like, hey, I've been hearing about this Portal game. So I was like, let's download it. So we got it downloaded. And so I might sit down with my oldest and have her play through Portal, which might be a lot of fun to kind of just witness years and years after, beating that game, etc.
Well, it's always fun to watch people play Portal for the first time. And I wish I could do it again. But like last time I played it, I beat the game in like 65 minutes. I was like, yeah. I remember it being a lot longer.
Yeah,
we probably won't have a show next week. Just as for those of you who are tuning in, both my oldest Maddie and my oldest son Mikey have to have eye surgery, so that I'm taking the day off for that. Apparently, it should be, they assure me all the things, but anybody who's had a kid I had Gabe had to have surgery in October because he broke his arm. So it's like we've hit our out of pocket. So let's like if we got to get something in, let's get it in and go from there. So just note, if you guys thoughts and prayers would be appreciated for me, and we'll most likely be back in 2 weeks unless Chrono or Scrag want to run the show next week, etc. Lono, thank you again so much for joining us, and thank you so much to all the raiders who came across from his live stream. Be sure, if you're watching this and you haven't followed and subscribed to Lono, check him out daily, Monday through Friday. Good, safe for work gaming news show, which is always kind of a fun place to hang out and chat. So on that note, we're going to get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you next time. But until then, take care.